If we could go back in church history to the year 386, we could witness the conversion of Augustine of Hippo, who was probably the most influential figure in church history since the Apostle Paul. However, if we would go back 20 years prior to that even, we would see a totally different picture of Augustine. In 366, Augustine was 11 years old. And it was at this age that he says he gained his first insights into the nature of sin. He recalls this event in his book, The Confessions, writing that while he and some friends were walking down the street, they saw a fruit tree in the neighborhood garden. And they decided that they would each steal a piece of fruit from the tree. Augustine says that in this moment, he felt an urge to steal the fruit, even though he wasn't even hungry. He says that he instead wanted to take the fruit purely because it was not permitted. He writes that this desire showed him that his very nature was flawed. Augustine says, "It was foul, and I loved it. I loved my own error, not that for which I erred, but the error itself." This wasn't the last time Augustine would succumb to his sin nature. Augustine would eagerly pursue sinful passions for a season, diving deeper and deeper into sin and rebellion. That is, until, as we said, 20 years later, when prompted by kids singing, "Take up and read," Augustine picked up the Bible and turned to Romans chapter 13, verses 13 through 14, which reads, "Let us walk properly as in the daytime, not in orgies and drunkenness, not in sexual immorality and sensuality, not in quarreling and jealousy, but put on the Lord Jesus Christ and make no provision for the flesh to gratify its desires." And with that, Augustine was changed. But it was events like him stealing this fruit as a child that would later give Augustine tangible examples with which to illustrate what is now known as the Augustinian view of the depravity of man. That man is by nature inclined towards sin. And that in order for man to overcome this sin nature, God first must call him out of that state of being, freeing him from the bondage of sin, that he might instead serve God. Augustine was called out by God from that life of sin into a life of salvation. He was then able to become a blessing through his writings and his speaking to many people through many generations.